Welcome, everybody. I am so excited about this hand-picked panel today. Sarita is on an airplane. She might be joining us as an attendee today, but it's just me and these four lovely, lovely souls. So what we have today are four superstars, superstar agents on teams. And I was talking to them before we came on, and I was like, you are the holy grail of what everybody wants on a team. Like all of us team operators want you guys on a team. So my goal today is to just learn what brought them to their teams, what's keeping them there, how the teams are supporting them, how their leaders are supporting them, so that we can all learn from this and get, incredible humans like these, in our lives and on our team. So I do think it'd be good to start off, guys, with, an introduction. So let's do that. And I'm just going to go in order of what I'm seeing on my screen. So there's no preferential order here. So Christina, you are first. Why don't you give us all of your vital statistics?
So my name is Christina Brown. I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina market. I actually live slightly north of the city. I have been with the J. White Group for almost 10 years. So my entire career, joined straight out of real estate school to the team. I am on target for about 50 transactions, and I've got 23 million in volume for the year so far.
That's huge. That's amazing. What about you, Riley? Riley, can't talk.
My name's Riley Cole, and I'm in Idaho Falls. I'm with the Anderson Hicks Group, and I've been in real estate now for 4 years, but 3 years. This is my third year as an agent. And for the year, it's going to be about in the 60 range is what it's looking like transaction-wise.
That's huge. That's awesome. Shannon Cole?
Hey, everybody. I'm Shannon. I am on Dream Team United. So I am in Charlotte area as well as Christina. We service about an hour radius around the Charlotte area. So we cover North and South Carolina. So about 50-50. I've been in real estate about 4.5 years now. This year, I'll be doing about 70 closed units, and I'm exclusively a listing specialist on the team.
Wow. That's just, you guys are ballers. Jesse Pohl.
Yeah, so I am in St. George, Utah with the Larkin Group. I've been in the business 11 years. I've been with Larkin Group 10, or almost 10, about 9.5 years. And this year I should close out at about 55 units. Right now I'm sitting at about 14 million in volume closed.
That is so huge. I want to come back to some questions. I want to, since I'm so impressed with this unit count. Can you guys all go around, and let's just do same order to make it easy. Can you go around and talk about like what your primary sources of business are? I think that would be really useful for everybody knowing. So let's start with you, Christina. And you can guess a little bit, but where is your business coming from?
So I'm 91% sphere, repeat, and referral clients. So my people are telling their people. I don't do a ton of lead gen. But then I'm heavily involved in our community schools, which also ends up being another source of new leads for me.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Riley?
So I'm about 30 to 35% team generated leads, and then 65 to 70% agent generated. And majority of where those are coming from are just my network. Yeah. I grew up here in Idaho Falls. And so I've, reached out to my network right when I jumped in as a real estate agent. I literally went through my phone from A to Z and called every person I knew, some that I hadn't talked to since high school, and actually ended up listing a high school buddy's house and helping him move to Boise. But a lot of it has come from my sphere, but now it's converted more so into referrals from my sphere and from past clients.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, got it. Shannon, what about you?
So for me, I'm about 60-40. 60 is actually coming from the team, 40 from my past clients in my sphere. Since I only do listings, we are very referral heavy. We have a ton of referral partners around the globe, and especially with Place now. So I'm handling a lot of that intake on the listing side as well.
So I love that. So when you say 60% team leads, do you have, let's just, and just to get a full picture, if you were going to take that 60%, right? Are some of those Mike and Fayaz's, databases? Are some of those agent-to-agent referrals, per your point? Are some of those internet? Like, what's the mix of those?
Yeah, it's a pretty decent mix. A good majority of those are referrals, outside agent referrals, because of our connections on social media and things like that. The next highest would be our inside sales. So that's from our website leads. So we do have an inside sales team that they are calling and taking all of our website leads and qualifying them. So that's another huge chunk. And then the rest is kind of here and there from different, little platforms, like, some Zillow here and there, some one-off, websites, but the bulk of it is agent referrals, past clients, and then inside sales, which is our website.
Got it. Thank you. That's super helpful. Jesse, what about you?
So I'm about 45% SOI, past client, Sphere, past client referral, 55% team, and that could be website, a lot of agent referrals. We have a killer expired campaign, so just radio show that we do. So just stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, it's a radio show. Perfect. Okay, I love it. I love it. So, so I'm just going to open this up for you guys to come in. Actually, no, that's not true. Christina, I'm going to ask you this question first. You do almost all of your business through past clients, referrals and whatnot. So can you talk to us about what value the team's giving you and what the team's doing for you to, make you do more business, to make you happy, to make you stay, to make you thrive, right? Like what are you getting from the team on self-generated business?
So with the majority of my business being from my own sphere, that was kind of my goal when I got started in the business. I wanted in 5 years for my people to think of me and include me on the list of great realtors that they might call if they needed somebody. So I joined the team early on because I was from a teaching background, and I knew the best resource you have is the teacher next door. And I figured to partner myself with the best teachers that I knew, and Jay was that person for me. So I started with the team, and I just kind of followed every instruction that he did until we got going. So in the beginning, the team model fit culturally for me and also gave me the support that I felt like I needed as someone who knew enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be effective. And so that was what the team looked like on the beginning end of it. And I guess about year 3, it began to shift where my business was coming from my sphere primarily. And at that point, it was, Christina, what does this need to look like for you? What do you want this to be? And my commitment when I first went into business is that I would never sacrifice my family on the altar of business success. Just was not going to happen. I had 2 kids, both in school whenever I started this business. My son was a high school athlete, so I was going to be wherever he was in games or wrestling tournaments or whatever that was. And so in the beginning and even to the middle of it, it was the leverage piece that the team offered in the way of support, and our ops team and our transactions team. I could go find people, but they could help me get them to the closing table once they were under contract. And then it became truly a business decision, right? Like when I look at the cost of doing business, the cost of listings, the cost of marketing, the cost of an admin team, the business decision to remain with a team was really the smartest move for me. The other thing is, so everybody's team looks different. And I think a lot of people think that the team is about a rainmaker, but what Jay did for me was he was like, what is your end game? And I was like, I want a team in Cabarrus County, so north of the city. I want to travel and teach, and I want my husband to be my luggage boy while we go see places we've never seen before. And he was like, okay, if that's what you want this to look like, let's go do it. And so at this point, truly, the other part of the team is just opportunity on opportunity to be in environments where I can follow the passion of teaching and I can coach other agents on our team and I can continue to grow it. So for me, I don't ever and have never felt like I'm on Jay's team. He's very clear that we have been business partners from the beginning. And so now, like, we even are looking for investments together and that kind of stuff. So it has been truly a business mentorship more than a source of business for me, if that's a fair statement.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because when we were talking, before we went live, I was sharing with you that I spent time with Jay and Charlotte a few weeks ago because I was there for a mastermind. So, and I talked to Jay a lot anyway, but the night before we had a dinner and then I was with him all that day, your name came up all the time. Like I was telling you, like he's always thinking about you. Like he's like, oh, that would be really good for Christina, or, oh, I should tell Christina that, or, ooh, that might be something like it. And I don't even think he realized it. And so that's why I asked you to be on here, because I was like, you guys just have a really great synergy. I could feel that. And I could feel that you're both heavily supporting each other. And I just want my fellow team operators who are watching or listening to this to hear that, right? That this is real. Like Jay literally wasn't even aware of how often he was thinking how he could bring value to Christina constantly. Like, oh, that'd be good for her. That'd be good for her. Way more than himself,
Yeah.
So I thought that was,
and I think that's what it's very interesting too. I read a statement one time that said something to the effect of, the people who matter in your world are the ones who will mention your name in rooms of opportunity that you will never hear. Right? I'm not present, and my name is being mentioned in those rooms, and that has kind of been the theory behind our team. What do you want your individual business to look like? How can I support you toward that goal? And that's what we're trying to replicate with the 31 agents on our team. I don't want them to be our minions. I want the agents on our team, as they continue to grow, to be people who build businesses that look exactly the way they want them to look inside of the structure of our team.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to ask the same question to you guys. The other three, just feel free to jump in. What is the team doing for you specifically on your sphere and referral business that you especially appreciate and you deep down know that you probably wouldn't be doing if you were a solo agent? Like that, at the end of the day, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe it's a great 36 touch. Maybe it's client events. Maybe it's, you just know that you would not be crushing that if you were on your own. Any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Jesse.
So I was thinking about number one is the marketing and the branding that Jeremy does. Just phenomenal. Something I would never do.
Yeah.
Or I would try, but it would be totally misplaced.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jeremy is so good at that. I agree with you.
Really is.
So good.
And the other piece for me is just the opportunities that I get. Like, for instance, I've been on the radio with him for 6 years.
Yeah.
And that happened by accident, but still I'm there and I'm staying. And so that's something I would have never done. And it's really helped me build real estate authority, really.
Yeah.
And the other piece that they do, and this is just for me personally, is I'm a very synergistic relationships person. And by myself, I just crumbled. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know. And with the synergy of the team, I really believe I've gone 100 times further than I ever would have on my own. Like ever would have. So when I and there's been a few times that I got upset or wasn't getting my way or whatever, and I looked at leaving. And every time I came back to, not only Christina talked about the expenses, but I came back to every time how unhappy I probably would be on my own.
Yeah.
And just how much the relationships mean to me, and particularly the relationship with Jeremy, right? Because we've become brothers pretty much, and partners. Like Christina said, like, I'm not just a member of the team. We're helping build this thing. So
Well, and it's interesting, Jesse, with you. I mean, my personal story with you and Jeremy is when I started meeting with Jeremy about place, however long it was, a couple of years ago, there was never a meeting without you from the very
No.
beginning. And he
Yeah.
told me in the few conversations we have without you, which, I would see him in places, he would say, Jesse buys off or this doesn't happen. I mean, I knew from the get-go, and I mean, it was just real. Like this isn't, and again, I want team operators like to hear that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he honored Jesse every single step of this process, right? And and I'm going to guess that he also led you down the path he desired. I mean, regardless, but I mean, you were honored every step of that process.
Honestly, I think that I led him down.
I do too.
Because I was on board way before he was.
I know.
Because of you and because of Ben and because of Chris.
Yeah.
So it was more like I was like, you should look at that again. You should look at that again. Are you sure?
Yeah, totally. Riley, you were jumping in there, I think. What is the team doing for you in your self-gen business? I'd love to hear more about this. You grew up in the area. So clearly, it had to have crossed your mind at one point, you would go be solo. Like, I'm really, what are you getting out of the team?
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
I want to say up front, his team is world renowned.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like unbelievable.
Yeah. The Anderson Hicks group, for any of you guys who don't know them, they are absolutely stellar. They're stellar from an operational standpoint. They're stellar from every human I know on that team is exceptional. Their standards are higher than almost anybody I know. I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. But I mean, really, the operators, right? The partners, Chris, Mike, and Sean, they are friends of mine. And, I really know that it's hard. I've worked in the corporate world and I've worked for a lot of different companies, and it's hard to find people that really care about you and growing your business and you being successful. It's really hard. In most cases, that I've experienced in the past, you're a number. And so to have that, I feel extremely blessed and fortunate to have that kind of relationship with them. Also, right along with what Christina was saying is my family comes first, always. I have 4 kids and my family comes first always. And having a team and having us, an operations team to back you up and all of that is what gives me that flexibility to have the work-life balance that I desire and that I need. And, I have kids in sports and all of that. And so I'm able to spend a lot of time with my wife and with my kids and be there for all their things. I'm currently coaching football right now, and it's a big commitment, but having a team to back you up is what allows me to do that. And if I were a single agent, I know I would be bogged down with all the different little responsibilities that go along with a transaction. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do the volume I'm doing if I didn't have that team and that support group and that operations team to help with that. Now, I also know, because something that's super important to us is a 10+ experience for our clients. And that allows me to have the flexibility that I need, but also to still provide a 10+ experience to all of our clients, and that there's attention to detail throughout the whole transaction from beginning to end. And they don't, all of our clients feel so valued and so grateful for how in the loop they are throughout the whole process. And reputation is something that's extremely important to me. And, being a part of Anderson Hicks Group alone gives you a good reputation, right? Like we just established. But individually, having a reputation with the people that I know within my network and my sphere, so that they're comfortable referring me to additional people so that my network and sphere can grow, is extremely valuable and important to me. And I feel like having a team that can ensure a smooth transaction and ensure a 10+ experience is ultimately, how you accomplish that and still have a life and can still be there for all your kids' things.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is I love that. Thank you. I'm hearing leverage and time back in a way that you still have the confidence they're getting a 10+ experience.
Yep.
So you're not just getting time and leverage at the expense of a mediocre client experience. You know that, and you can't unsee that. Once you get ingrained with having a 10+ experience, you're never going to be satisfied with a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
I love that. Shannon, what about you?
Yeah, I'd love to touch on it briefly. And then I know that we probably have to move on to the next thing.
That's okay. This is a really important one.
Exactly. Being on a team, it gives you that plug and play experience. So not only are you getting the leverage, but you have, like on our team, 100+ years of experience when you put us all together. So I'm not running around like a crazy person trying to figure out my one-off marketing and what's going to, be beneficial or not. I could go to Fayaz and say, hey, I want to give a postcard to my neighborhood, but he's going to give the facts behind it on why that might not be the best route and the best money spent because of the return on investment and things like that. So I'm not just wasting my money, I'm gaining money and doing the right things because of their experience, and I don't have to do it trial and error. They also, for my sphere, we do 4 events a year, so 1 a quarter. And so I look like I'm putting on these extravagant events. I'm inviting my clients in my sphere to movie nights, to veterans bartending. We're flagging neighborhoods for Memorial Day. And all my sphere can see is, oh my gosh, Shannon, you sell all these houses and you could put on these amazing events. And we love showing up and being with your team. And I'm not doing, half the time it's our marketing, it's our director of operations, and I'm showing up and with a smile on my camera saying, hey, look at us. And it's just easy. So you look at it as kind of a franchise, as, you've got this big name, but you've got the leverage and you just follow their systems and you can move and groove as you want to, but you've got all of that in place to be as successful or inaccessible as you want to. So
yeah, I love that. I want to go back a little bit now. I want to kind of rewind, and you guys have all kind of touched on this, but we're gonna do a little bit more of it in the weeds on it, right? And I want to go back to the time that all 4 of you, which I actually do think is interesting. Like, I almost want to pause on this. All 4 of you were not really solo agents. Now, Shannon, no, you started as an ISA. Jesse, I'm not going to count your 9 months. You weren't solo very long. The rest of you guys decided you were going to get in real estate and decided from the get-go, from the outset, you were going to be on a team, right? So I want to go back to that time. And again, I know you've kind of hit on it a little bit, but I want to go back to that time, and I want you to answer 2 questions for me. Number 1, why a team versus solo? Number 2, why your particular team? And Shannon, let's start with you. Since you've been going last, let's make you go first.
Sure. So why a team? And honestly, I kind of blindly went into everything. I was at corporate retail for 10 years before I started in real estate. I knew our director of operations, who was Jen. She kept trying to recruit me. And I'm like, I hate the hours that I'm working. I want more time with my kids. And so finally, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to join, I'm going to join with a team, 1, because I want that structure. I came from a corporate office where I had some structure. I had people, surrounding me that had different experience and could collaborate easily. And then Dream Team, being smaller-ish at the time, but with Fayaz, with the visionary mindset, and Mike's collaboration, it was sky's the limit to where they would grow. And I knew that they would accept my ideas as they grew the business too. So I had that structure, but then I had, them kind of leading the way as well. And they've proven it. They started out with 4 people. We're now in Charlotte, Asheville, Greensboro, Winston-Salem. Like, it just keeps going and going. So the formula works.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I love Fayaz and Mike. If you guys don't know them, are incredible
Yes.
people. And Fayaz is he's just so dedicated to the team, always thinking about it, always focused on it, total visionary, growth minded. Mike's, stellar at ops. And I don't know, like, I just feel like you have really good co-operators there.
Right. And a little bit about, what everybody else was saying is, yes, they're giving you a lot of things. They're giving you leads, they're giving you that structure, that leverage, but there's so much other coaching that goes along with it. They're not just a team that's like, okay, show up to work, do your thing, make your calls. Every Monday meeting, they're having somebody come in and talk to us, whether it be a financial planner, an appraiser, a disc coach. So they're building our skills beyond what I would normally think about as our, normal real estate game. I would never have an investment property if it weren't for them. Like, I went to sell and buy and they're like, what, are you stupid? Why would you give up that house? You need to keep that house. So it's just, they're stretching our mindset, and that's really what the big picture is.
Yeah, I love that. Now we're going to go backwards because I've been going in one particular order. So Riley, same question. Why a team and why Anderson Hicks?
So I kind of stumbled up on the whole team. I stumbled upon.
I am hearing a theme here. I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I stumbled on the greatest team there was, but.
Yeah, just upon real estate in general. I was working in the corporate world for an NBA team selling premium ticket sales, and COVID hit and it just totally blew up the whole industry that I was in. And one of the partners, Chris, is a friend of mine, and he reached out to me kind of randomly about an opportunity to come and kind of run the agent team and be the director of sales for the Anderson Hicks Group agent team. And so I came in and did that, and it was great, but it was really tough trying to run an agent team.
Yes, it is, Riley. Yes, it is.
Highly experienced agents. I mean, there were new agents too, but agents that have been in the industry for 20 years. And I had zero real estate experience. I had a lot of sales experience, but zero real estate experience. And so I did that for about a year and a half. And it was great. And actually, looking back, I mean, it ended up being an incredible training ground for me to then jump into an agent role and hit the ground running from the get-go, because I got to spend a lot of time with a lot of different agents, and I got to see what the successful ones were doing and what those that weren't successful and that were failing, what they were doing. And so it also, I was super dialed on our scripts and all of that as well, which really helped. And so it was kind of, I really didn't know the industry very well, and I didn't even know the difference between single agents and teams and all of that. But, you
didn't even know you had a choice.
Yeah, I mean, literally. I mean, I came in more of a management role, and after doing that for a year and a half, there was a realization, like, if I'm ever going to be successful at this director of sales or mentorship kind of role, I need to get experience myself. And so I went in and jumped into being an agent, and I don't know that I ever want to go back to management.
Well, a top salesperson should always make more than the sales manager.
So.
Yeah.
But sticking with the team is a lot of it has to do with, like I said, who I'm working for and the value that I feel from the partners on Anderson Hicks. It's not easy to find that. It really is.
No.
There's a ton of other additional, monetary value as well, of course, with leads and all of that, and cost savings like Christina hit on. But yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with the team model because it works, and it's a great place to be. And I wouldn't be able to do this kind of volume, and I know everyone else would agree with this, wouldn't be able to do this kind of volume without a team. So it would be, anyways.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Jesse? You're muted. You're muted.
Am I now? I
There
forgot
you go.
I put that up. So this is going to be funny because I didn't stumble into a team. In fact, my first 9 months of real estate, I was, yeah. If you guys have ever seen the movie Tommy Boy, when he's in there and he's with his thing and he's like, that was me. I was horrible. I was so bad that they didn't even want me on a team. I met with a
I
team
have
in
not
Portland.
seen Tommy Boy. Like, I don't even know.
You need to go, just
Okay.
go Google Tommy Boy with this sale or something. It's funny. It's just funny.
So
But it's
will
how
you
he
explain?
destroys his sale.
Oh, okay.
Every chance he gets, he'll just destroy the sale somehow.
Okay. Okay.
And that was me. I was just, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know how I was
Yeah.
putting people off, including teams. So I met with some really good teams in Portland for that 9 months that I was there, and they didn't want nothing to do with me.
Interesting.
So that's how bad I was. So now fast forward, I moved back to Utah, and I was working 2 jobs, trying to come out of the financial mess that we had created, and still trying to do real estate. And somebody approached me, because he just saw how hard I was working. His name was Jeremy Back. And he convinced me he offered me a job as an ISA. And that lasted about a year. Most horrible ISA you've ever met. But I was really good at connecting with people. Like, I started to learn, I started to grow. Then he connected me with Jeremy Larkin, who's my team leader today. And you couldn't have 2 guys that were more opposite and more judgmental of each other at that moment. You're laughing because you know our relationship today, right?
Yeah.
But at that moment, it's like, whether you call it God, whether you call it energy, whatever you want to call it, put us in a room and lock the door long enough for us to connect.
Yeah.
And so from that time forward, it was about that relationship. It was about, and here's what's funny is he helped me become a business owner. He helped me become successful.
Yeah.
And in turn, I helped him get through some really hard stuff too.
How did he do that though? Like what
Probably
did
just
he
loved
do?
me long enough he put up with me long enough for me to get it.
So he patiently mentored you.
Yeah. Because I mean, I was a mess, but I was really good at connecting with people. But when the pressure was on, I would just crumble.
Oh.
So as the ISA, I didn't have any pressure, right? I was getting paid. There was no pressure. And that allowed me to really grow into where I'm at today. Like I think that was the best 4 years I've ever spent.
So personal mentorship, time and attention, patience, interesting. Okay.
And
Thank you.
today I'm a good catch, but back then I wasn't.
Well, he helped develop you into that. That's good. That's a really good lesson for all of us, actually, to learn. Thank you for sharing that. Christina, definitely not least, but last.
So I actually am with Jay by way of his dad. So Jay's dad, Johnny, was in real estate, and I was in real estate school, and he offered us study space in our office. He was like, just come and study and get your study group there together. And he would jump in on Thursday mornings and just say hi and say, what questions do you have? And he's the quintessential Southern gentleman, right? So I just thought he was precious. And so stinking smart, right? And so gracious. And that was so attractive to me in business, because I think this business is full of people who are larger than life and sometimes not genuine. And so for me to get to know Johnny, he was just the exact opposite. It was, what can I do for you? How can I support you? And it came from this place of genuine hospitality. And so when I met Jay over lunch, Johnny was like, meet me for lunch, and Jay's coming along. And I just kind of felt like I found people who thought about the world like I did. Iron sharpens iron. So we're not gonna be around people who are slackers. We all had a common theme that we wanted to benefit those around us. That idea of a rising tide raises all ships, right? Like if we all can do this together and watch out for each other, we can go really, really far. And Jesse, like you, like I'm a pretty smart cookie with most things, and I'm usually pretty successful, but I knew I didn't know what I needed to know in this business. And so finding someone who did it well was really important over time. And Jesse, you said this as well, like y'all got in closed rooms and got to know each other. Over time, when you get to know the people that you work with really, really well, when you share each other's families and you share each other's experiences and you talk about business and you are just authentic with one another, you get to know how to support each other really, really well. It's not ever been enough for me to go into a place and clock in and clock out. I'm not that kind of a person. I want to go in, I want to make a difference where I am. And when I leave, I want to take a part of that with me, but still be available to what's there. And with our team, that's what I found. It was not just, what do I need to do to help you with business? But, okay, so this is going on with your kids. How can I help? This is going on with everything around you. And so for me, I think that the idea of a team was a natural extension of my teaching, where I taught on a team. But again, I never thought about doing it by myself, but I didn't know that teams were a thing either. I just knew I had to get in a place where I was surrounded by the right people. And I was very fortunate to get surrounded by the Whites.
This is thank you guys for sharing. This is so important for team operators to hear, that in every single one of your stories, you have people who poured into you, right? In one way or the other. And, you know, how you all got there might look a little different. However, a couple of you got there, 3 of you got there because of a job, which I also think is interesting, right? Christina, you went straight to being an agent, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Riley
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started directly as an agent. Yes.
But Riley, Shannon, and Jesse, you know, at some level, you came as a job. And that's also interesting, I think, for us all to hear, that ultimately you became the top agent on the team, but it didn't start that way. So getting you in the door took a job. And that's something I'm interested at that. Like that's kind of one of my takeaways actually from this, right? That you all ended up as the top agent. One of you came in as a sales manager, 2 of you came in as an ISA. Fascinating, really. And something for us all to think about. Getting specific, what training and development has been important and, you know, that you've valued the most from being on the team? And I'll just leave this one open. You don't all have to answer that. But what training and development has your team given you that's been really helpful and great?
I can start with that. They are all about training and development before, you know, even before we came to Place, but Place has been such a value add with giving them that extra tool to follow. You know, here's my checklist of what I need to do, and all these amazing videos of, you know, watch this listing presentation and there's Briar presentation. But on top of that, we do business planning every year. So that's my background, is planning in the retail space. So I am numbers driven. I want to know what my goal is by month. I want to know how many dials I have to do. I don't want to just put out some random number and say, all right, this is what my number is. And they align with that. So actually, we've already done business planning this week because it's so crucial to us that we want to be set up to start it now to get into Q1 next year. So we sit down for hours and go through business planning, personal goals, and then we coach weekly. So on a weekly basis, we're meeting with our director of sales. They're not only our psychologists of, you know, just a listening ear of how's it going, what can I do to help you with, but they're also looking at those numbers and saying, okay, well, we're not on track. What are we going to do? Let's get back to the core of how you're getting these numbers and what do we need to tweak. And so it's just full transparency between the both of us on how we're achieving those numbers and what is our contingency plan if we're starting to slip. We're not on our own. They'll help us, they'll help us to get there. So that is a big, big piece of it. And that's a piece of it that I love being on the team, because I know I wouldn't even know where to start, if I was an individual agent.
That reminds me of Shannon. When I had a team, and then in 2018, I went to work for Ben Kinney. And at the time I was running his brokerage division. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I don't know if you should hire me. Like, I haven't even run one real estate office, and you want me to go from being a team operator, a team leader, to operating 6 brokerages. Like, I think I'm going to fail. Like, I don't even know enough. And I remember Ben said, I will not let you fail. If I promise to not let you fail, if I promise to train you where you need to train, teach you what you need to do, would you consider it? And I was like, well, if you say it that way, like if you promise to not let me fail, and I promise to come to you if I need help and need support, then yeah, I feel much more comfortable in it. It was really effective for me as well to have that mindset of a leader who is determined to not let me fail. He was like, well, you can do it. You're worried about failing. I'm not. But yeah, there's some education in the way of where you want to go and where you are. I can help with that.
Right.
And that's what I'm hearing you say.
Management. Yeah. If they didn't have the confidence to know, because I came in saying, I want to make up my income plus one because I am the breadwinner of my family, and I'm giving up a salaried position with insurance. And I was horrified. And they looked me straight in the eye and they're like, you can do this. You're going to make more than what you want to make. And they have that confidence in me. And so sometimes you need that. You need somebody to have that confidence for you until you're well underway.
Borrowed confidence. I call it borrowed confidence. It's so important to have someone who believes in you and who you feel they believe in you. And it looks like the way you're nodding your heads, you all believe that you all believe your team leader. Yeah, I'm seeing your heads nod. What other training and development has been important for you guys?
I'll chime in. I think the biggest thing for me has been the personal internal growth, like internal training. We do a lot of I don't want to say self-help, but mindset stuff. Yeah. And I think that's been really key for me because as soon as we get out of bed, things are negative unless we intentionally turn them positive.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to just inherently start doing. So I think the training that not only the Larkin Group has brought, but also Place. We talk about that a lot. Like, how are you intentionally showing up? Are you intentionally showing up with gratitude, with a servant heart, right? Are you expecting yourself to show up as a promise keeper, or are you just showing up how you've always been? I've said for years, I hate the phrase, this is just how I am, because that's not true. We are who we're going to decide to be right this second. And I think that's huge, just to have the conversation.
Yeah. So the personal growth is more important to you than the real estate training and
I think so, because here's why. I believe if you get, in fact, Gary Keller says this, if you put the man together, the world will appear. Now he tells it through a story. He tells it through a story with his son, and he was hoping to read his paper, but they had his Father's Sunday, and he said, well, here. He ripped up this paper and made it like a puzzle. And his son put it together like in 2 minutes. He thought it would take him at least 30. And he's like, how'd you do that, Dad? And he's like, well, Dad, if you put the man together, the world appears. And how true is that for our life? If all I'm worried about is scripting and all this other stuff, and I'm showing up in a really negative space, I'm just banging my head against the wall.
Yeah.
But man, if I get myself right first, like the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
It's interesting. all of you guys came to this from a business background. So y'all knew numbers, y'all knew money, y'all knew that stuff. I didn't have a clue. I was a teacher. I was great with people. I am a promise keeper. Like, all of that stuff made perfect sense to me. If I know what you need, I can go fix it. If I know what your problem is, I can come up with a solution. Like, that's how I'm kind of a mama bear kind of personality. So when Shannon was like, oh, I knew my numbers, I still don't, y'all. Before this podcast, I called our director of ops and I was like, what are my numbers for the year? I don't have a clue, which is terrible. But the reality of it is you surround yourself with the people who fill in your gaps. And so our team has been really great for that for me. From a training perspective, for me, it has been a lot of business talk. It's been conversations about investments. It's been how for a family that was used to living on, for my salary to have been a teaching salary, and for us to now own 3 investment properties and looking at building wealth through real estate, like, that was a conversation that didn't happen around our dinner table before this. And so those kind of training opportunities, taking me to place events and putting me in situations where I'm in rooms with people that are a lot smarter than me so I can hear those conversations is really important. And then the other thing is just giving me resources for really good tools to build myself as a business person, whether that is to do a 15-minute study and manage my time better, or to learn how to manage a calendar for a business and a life that both will thrive. Those things have been invaluable to me. And then just learning the language of real estate was such a big thing for me because I had the construction background. My dad was a GC. I grew up in that world, but I didn't have the business backing. So I didn't understand interest rates and investments and buy downs and return on investment and vacancy rate. Like, that was a foreign language in my world. And so that measure of training came alongside what I already was good at and strengthened me as an agent.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Riley, anything you would add?
Yeah. I was just going to say, statistics and being an expert on your area, that's something that we train on and hit very heavily. And so knowing what the average price per square foot is at the time and knowing what the absorption rate is and knowing what the pending ratios are, all that kind of stuff has been really helpful. And when I first jumped in as an agent, I kind of mentioned this is, I really, because it was my job to get the agents really well scripted, I was really well versed in the scripts, and I found that the scripts is not so much repeating it verbatim, but it's just ensuring that you get everything across that you need to get across when it needs to get across. So something that Mike is famous for saying, it's not what you say, but when you say it. And most of the time, it's no issue. There's no issue. You avoid all kinds of future problems and challenges if you say the right things at the right time, and you prepare people ahead of time. You can avoid a whole ton of headaches and difficulty and challenges throughout a transaction. And so having, that kind of training on, what it is to say, and there's still times that I reach out to Mike and Sean and Chris for advice on, what should I say at this point to make sure that this potential, and I'm a worst case scenario type of thinker. And so I'm always thinking worst case scenario, and I'm trying to get ahead of it before anything ever happens. And so just having that kind of training to be an expert on the area, and really knowing your numbers and everything. So when someone asks you, you can just spout it out, you can just tell them. They can trust that you're an expert because you have it. And if you can't just say it, you have tools to pull it up right there. Another training I've received is calendar, and being able to manage your time and time block. And it allows, and I've talked a lot about just work-life balance and having time with family. And if you learn how to time block well and stick to those time blocks, then you have plenty of time for your family. And
Yeah.
so just learning, specifically how to manage a calendar and manage it with your spouse. And that's something, her and I share a calendar, and it just helps a lot to accomplish and be very, I don't know what the right word is, but focused and
Efficient, productive, focused.
efficient, productive. Yeah. In order to
live according to your values.
Yep.
Yeah.
And accomplish
Yeah.
more in a less amount of time.
Yeah, I love that. Second to last question. And I'm going to start with Jesse on this one. What are misconceptions that people have about real estate teams?
So one of the biggest ones to me is I'll make less money, right? I'm not going to give away all my money. And I really believe, and I've proven, that with the right team, with the right synergy, with the right systems, you will far outpace whatever you could do on your own.
Oh, yeah.
Far outpace. And so the question of what does it cost is the wrong question. I really believe it should be who is this, and how are we going to benefit each other that's going to push me further, and that's going to push them further, right? I really believe that. And everybody on here has said how much better their life is because of the team, right? I actually take 3-4 mini vacations every quarter where I leave 4 or 5 days at a time to go see grandkids around the country. For doing the most business, I literally spend the most time away from the office.
I love that.
And it's because if you're able to touch your psyche, your heart, where it matters, you're going to show up better when you're there.
Mm.
And you're going to have the support when you're not.
Yeah, I love that. Riley, what's a misconception people have about a team, real estate team?
I'm right there with Jesse, that everyone gets so hung up on the word splits, right? And they think they're going to make less money because of that. But I mean, really, if you're a single agent on your own, you're going to have all kinds of expenses that you have to pay for. I also see it that I am growing my network and my sphere times 10 by being a part of a team, because of the amount of volume I'm able to do with the support that the team provides. It allows me, and to me, that's job security. The more people that I can get to know, the more people I can create relationships, the more referrals I can generate, and the larger I can make my sphere and network. I feel like the more consistent I can be for the long term. But I think ultimately it's people just get so hung up on the splits that are involved with a team. And so I think that if they look at the whole big picture, they're way better off, and they're way more secure, and they're going to make much more money with the right team, like what Jesse said.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. Christina, you're super plugged into your community. What do you think misconceptions are that some of the agents, some of the solo agents that you work with might have about being on a team?
So I think a lot of them think that it's a limited growth potential, right? Like if you're on a team and you've gotten to a successful level, you should go do this on your own. And if you stay with a team, it's almost a sign of weakness. And I think that that's a perception that a lot of people have, and it's very, very wrong. For us, it's the sky's the limit. Where do you want to take it? The other thing is, and my dad owned his own business, and it was Mike Ushery Builder, right? It was his name on the truck. And for him, he was like, well, your name should be on the door. My dad actually said that to me. Your name should be on the door. And it's funny because my name kind of is on the door. Well, not the door, but on the billboard or on the things that go out to the schools or whatever. It's Christina Brown with the J White Group, powered by Place. Like my company name is like this long. But people who see me and know me and the environments that I work in, all of the branding is to me. And then with Jay as the team and our brokerage there, like my son was a center for our high school football team, and I was a sponsor at the school, still am, on the billboard at the school. I'm a booster. And they would get a first down, and it would be the first down by Christina Brown. And it was really kind of funny and super cheesy until my son was a senior in high school, and he was like, "Mom,"
he's like, "No, Mom." Yeah,
Done.
no.
Done with
I've
that
got
one.
kids. They would not be
He was like, "You got to
as
stop that one."
Yeah, no.
So we passed that off to another company, but we still get announced at each game. And it's, if you need a local realtor, call Christina Brown with the Jay White Group.
Riley's dying because he's a football coach. Like, if you had a player.
Yeah. My son was a center. They're the secret strength of the team. But I'm a little biased there for that O-line. But anyway, the misconceptions that come with being on a team for a lot of people are I can't do it by myself. I'm not gonna grow very far. I'm always gonna make someone else money. I'm gonna be super limited. And my experience has been the polar opposite of all of those. My individual production in our office outpaces some of the teams in our office. Like that level and opportunity for growth is provided. But I do think that someone has to be discerning when they're looking for a team, because not all teams are created equal.
Yeah,
I think what we have experienced is that kind of excellent team where everything's hitting on all cylinders and it's not about one person.
Mm-hmm.
If your team is all about one person, then you kind of feel like you're an employee and you kind of feel like you're on a hamster wheel. I've never felt that.
No. Shannon, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, everybody touched on, the big thing is, the splits. I think the other one is just feeling like they won't have a voice on a team. They're just, you're another number. And a lot of people go into this business because they want the flexibility. They don't want to have that person, telling them what to do. And so they're going out on their own and they're failing. And they don't realize that you do have flexibility on the team if you have a good leader. And they'll take in, what you have to say, and they'll work with that and pivot, because at the end of the day, you're still a contractor. You could do what you want to do, but you're still within a team and you have that guidance. So I think that's the big thing for a lot of people is they think that they're going to be stuck, like they're working at a corporate office, but they're really not.
Yeah. I love that. That's my favorite. That was my favorite question of the whole thing. Okay. We have like 3 minutes left. So we're going to do rapid fire, and this is the order we're going to do it in. We're going to do Shannon, Jesse, Riley, Christina. So get ready. Christina, you're going to anchor this. Okay. Okay. And the question is, what advice do you guys have for team leaders, team operators, team owners to get you on their team? Shannon, go.
Get in the weeds, know the nitty-gritty of the team, because those are the things that a individual agent or somebody that has no experience at all will find the value in. That's it.
Okay, good. Jesse, this is good. It's rapid. This is good.
I would say to really get to find out what is important to them. What do they really want? And then find a way to help them get there. Like, whatever that is, what is the life you want? And start to help.
Spend the time on hearing out from both of you. Riley, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely care about the individual and the individuals that are working for you, right? And make sure that you understand what's important to them, but also that you're giving them tools to be successful. And you're providing that kind of training and providing those kind of tools, which Place obviously provides the best CRM, the best follow-up scripts and trainings and all kinds of things. But just make sure that that's being communicated and trained well, so that they can be successful, and also understanding what is success to them. Not everybody, not all agents necessarily desire to do 50, 60, 70, 80 transactions a year. That's not necessarily their goals and what they need and what they see as success. Everybody has different successes, and so make sure that you're aligned with their successes as well.
I love that. Christina Brown.
Get to know your people so well that they give you permission to coach them hard and love them big.
We're ending it there. That was like a mic drop. That was so good. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is one of the most important webinars I've done and I don't know if we're going to turn this one into a podcast. I hope we do, but the reason is because team leaders need to hear this. They needed to hear how you got there, how you're thriving, what value you place in them, what you appreciate about them. So I cannot thank you enough for spending an hour with me today. I know your time is valuable. I really do thank you. And I think that many team leaders who are on this live and are going to hear the replay are going to thank you too. So everybody, thanks for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend.